"Tonight, you die, Johnson," the leader whispered, a silenced pistol kissing Ethan's temple as 5 masked men in black tactical gear drew a tight circle beneath the Grand Meridian chandeliers. Ethan Johnson didn't move. The leader's presence radiated control even behind a mask. Tall, squared shoulders, muzzle steady. Mason Taylor. A hotel maid stood off axis beside a steel cleaning cart, faded gray uniform, name tag, Ava. To Mason, she was background. To most people, furniture. He didn't bother looking at her. "Walk away," he said, voice flat. "Now." Ava Brown didn't walk. Her hands tightened on the cart handle until the metal bit her palms through the gloves. Something old, quieter than fear, older than dread, slid back into place. Her breathing leveled. Angles came alive. Distances clicked. Lines of fire settled into a grid only she seemed to see. The ring around Ethan shifted in tiny tells only practiced eyes catch. A foot staggered to widen stance. A wrist red-dripped to center mass. A glance to check a flank. 2 gunmen held the elevator approach. One watched the rear corridor. One floated inside Mason's shadow to finish what the boss started if anything went wrong. It looked flawless. It was meant to. Ava moved the cart half an inch. No squeak. She rode the hairline trough in the tile, the housekeeping learned by feel. The fountain's white noise swallowed the small scrape of rubber wheels. In the chrome lip of the concierge desk, she saw a curved reflection of a muzzle, a glove, Ethan's jaw clenching. She also saw herself, small, bowed, invisible. "Any last words?" Mason asked. Ethan's eyes went to the chandelier, its crystal dripping light. In one facet, he caught a sliver of a gray uniform and a cart. He didn't understand why it mattered, but it did. "You picked the wrong hotel," he said, voice thin but steady. 15 minutes earlier, the lobby had smelled like cologne and champagne. Deals whispered under chandeliers. Polished shoes whispered over marble. Ava wiped fingerprints from brass rails and stacked towels with muscle memory sharper than most men's drills. She was thinking of Lily's art project and Caleb's loose tooth when soft voices bled to the conference room door. Schematics on a tablet, calm timings, a fake gas leak clearing the staff, cameras looping, police scent chasing a ghost. Her body reacted first. Threat assessment, exits, civilian density. She kept wiping until the knob turned and a masked man studied her face like a spreadsheet. Finish and leave. She nodded and left. She did not leave the building. In a dented locker on sublevel 3 Live a Life, she didn't show the world. Black tactical top, ceramic blade, small zip ties, 2 chemical bottles that could go from cleaner to cover with a cap twist. She didn't arm up for a war. She prepared for the first 10 seconds of one. Now, back in the light, Mason repositioned Ethan with a forearm and a promise of death. "Truth is what people believe," he told him. "And people believe what they're told." Ethan's eyes flicked to the desk bell. No clerk. His brain recorded details it couldn't use. The red tie he should have changed, the phone buzzing in his pocket that wouldn't help him, the cold circle of suppressor that said time was a luxury. Ava slid nearer the fountain's curve. The pumps hummed masked small motions. A heavy brass lamp on the concierge counter had a loose base if you knew how to twist it. She knew. Her thumb found a coin in her pocket. Edges rubbed smooth by years. Sealed challenge coin. A weight that felt like promise. She pictured Lily's lunchbox. Caleb's laugh, a hospital bill paid by a mysterious donor who never took credit. She suspected. She never asked. Mason's team tightened the ring by inches. Small, disciplined, lethal. The second gunman's stance betrayed range time, not real fights. Heels a touch too narrow. The fourth was jumpier, muzzle breathing. The third had the patience of stone. A hotel guest stepped from an elevator, saw the guns and froze. His phone lifted on instinct. Another guest mirrored him. Filming was modern prayer. Phones down. The jumpy one snapped. They didn't. Human nature chose witness. Ava noted the cameras without changing plan. Witnesses complicate trajectories but also protect truth. Civilians became movable cover if she could create movement. She cataloged objects, the lamp blunt force, the cart mobile shield, cleaner, irritant. Service bell distraction. Chandelier, Light explosion, a shaken fountain mist veil. The floor's reflectivity would betray footwork. The columns could swallow line of sight. Mason checked time. 8:28. 2 minutes to the mark they'd built their night around. He liked order. He'd bought it in this building. He believed in it like a creed. He finally looked at the maid. A beat. Put the cart by the wall and keep your eyes down, he ordered. Not unkind, not kind, uninterested. Ava rolled the cart. Her glove slipped to steady a bottle. The coin came up in her palm, cool and familiar. She breathed. The old rhythm spread through her chest like a measured tide. Always faithful. A suppressed cough thudded somewhere distant. Outside? No. A car door? No. The faint pop of a vent flange settling above the service entrance. Not threat. Not now. She logged it and let it go. Micro twist one. The elevator dinged. The doors began to part. A gunman pivoted and palmed the close button without looking, keeping his muzzle on Ethan. Ava filed the reach in the dominance gesture. That hand would be slow a half beat for the next action. Micro twist two. Ethan's phone buzzed. Mason leaned a fraction to say, "Ignore it." And in that space his offhand lifted, the muzzle stayed rock steady. Discipline real, not performance. He was as good as his resume. That changed nothing. It only changed tempo. Micro twist three. A security guard stepped into the far corridor, took one look, and stepped back out. Paid off or terrified, it didn't matter. He was gone. It was just them. Ava was done being background. She let her shoulders round a little more, chin down, eyes soft. The harmless posture brought the nearest gunman 2 inches closer. Bad habit. Crowd to nothing person. His muzzle dipped a hair toward the floor. He was clearing his own fear with false control. The fountain hissed. A drop burst and rolled. Ava moved. The citrus cleaner arced into the nearest gunman's eyes. A bright jet at arm's length. He recoiled, muzzle wavering. The brass lamp came free with a twist and cracked across his forearm. The pistol skated across marble. Her shoe toe sent it under the counter in the same motion. She was already pivoting. "Contact!" the stone patient one barked. Ava slid behind a column, as a suppressed round punched stone. She stepped out the other side, close, inside, where pistols are awkward and elbows are kings. She redirected the second man's wrist upward. The cough shot chewed chandelier light into 1,000 nervous stars. Crystals trembled. Motes rained. Phones gasped in chorus. Mason didn't shout. He adjusted. He shoved Ethan into the pillar and firmed the muzzle against the exposed artery in his neck. "Stop," he said to Ava, simple and final, "or he dies first." Ava looked at that black circle and the void behind it. She looked at Ethan, pale, eyes glass with adrenaline, and saw the donor who didn't claim credit for a boy's stitches. She didn't answer with words. She let her body answer by stillness. In stillness, she calculated. The third gunman advanced carefully, learning from the last two. Ava changed speed. Slower now, palms visible, breathing readable. She let them think the burst was over. She let them think the maid had already surprised herself. She let them believe they'd regained the script. Overhead, the chandelier's reflections moved like slow lightning across marble. In the concierge chrome, Ava saw the third man's ankle misaligned on the high gloss. In the fountain's ripple, she saw the fourth man settle weight to his left foot for a firing platform. She made her choice. She angled her body. The cart stood between the fourth and Ethan's lung. The column split Mason from his support for a beat. The second man's eyes still watered. A split-second delay baked into his next decision. The first was on his knees, groping, half-blind. Ava showed her gloved palms higher. Mason's muzzle never wandered. "Cart to the wall," he repeated. "Hands high." She rolled the cart toward the wall, then let her left hand slip to steady a bottle. The coin flashed and vanished, folding her wrist into the grip she needed. She didn't pray. She committed. 3 seconds. That's all she took from the universe. Enough to knock a muzzle, turn a chin, break a line. Enough to give Ethan a window measured in heartbeats and polished stone. Somewhere outside, a siren changed pitch like a blade turning. Somewhere above, a vent sighed. Somewhere close, a guest whispered into a phone, "Oh my God!" Ava's weight shifted to the balls of her feet. Mason's fingers settled for the final pull. Ethan's breath stopped. And the Grand Meridian, cathedral of glass, garden of money, waited for a verdict written in motion. But the moment Ava decided to fight back, she didn't realize that saving one man's life tonight would make her the most hunted woman in America by morning. In the hotel's dim service corridor, Mason Taylor adjusted his cufflinks like a man preparing for dinner, not murder. Around him stood four of the most dangerous men alive, ghosts from wars that governments denied ever happened. Each one was a specialist, a professional predator. Victor, the Russian demolitions expert, checked his timer with cold precision. Carter, the Taiwanese sniper, cleaned his compact rifle. Hassan, the Syrian interrogator, hummed a soldierism under his breath. Rodriguez, the Colombian knife fighter, twirled his blade like it was part of his anatomy. Together, they had earned over $50 million in blood money. Synchronized watches, Mason said quietly, holding up his encrypted tablet. On its screen glowed the blueprint of the Grand Meridian Hotel. Johnson enters at 8:30 sharp. We stage a robbery, make it look messy but quick. Cameras are looping. Cops are chasing ghosts 6 miles away. By the time anyone realizes, we'll be gone. His voice was calm, clinical, but every syllable dripped with authority. We don't just kill the man, he continued. We kill the idea that anyone could defy the people paying us. Rodriguez chuckled darkly. What about witnesses? Eliminated as variables, Mason replied. The staff's been sent home for a fake gas leak. The few left have been paid to keep their eyes shut and their mouths closed. Money buys silence. Fear seals it. He didn't notice the faint whisper of air moving to the vent above them, or the pair of eyes watching every movement, memorizing every plan. Ava Brown lay flat in the narrow duct, heart pounding but mind razor sharp. Every word was a weapon, every detail a fragment of their strategy. The seal in her had returned fully now, her breathing slow, controlled, as her brain mapped escape routes and tactical choke points. Her training whispered like an old friend. Observe, adapt, strike only when the odds shift in your favor. By 8 o'clock, she'd already changed into her old tactical blacks, retrieved from a hidden locker she kept untouched for 6 years. The moment her fingers brushed the familiar fabric, she felt her past return. The strength, the focus, the absolute clarity of purpose. She gathered her makeshift arsenal. A ceramic knife taped beneath a sink pipe, an aerosol cleaner that could become a smoke screen, bleach and ammonia, lethal if combined, a steel mop handle that, with the right angle, could crush a throat. This wasn't housekeeping anymore. It was combat prep. Below her, Mason's voice continued. At 8:25, positions are locked. Johnson walks in 5 minutes later. I want him surrounded before he blinks. No heroics, no noise. Victor smirked. What about that maid from earlier, the one who overheard us? Mason's smile was all arrogance. You mean that pathetic cleaning woman? She's gone. People like her know their place. He laughed, the sound low and poisonous. Trust me, she's not our concern. He was wrong. Up in the ducts, Ava's jaw tightened. His contempt, his casual racism, the way he called her pathetic, it lit a fuse deep inside her that she'd buried for years. She crawled to the narrow metal tunnels, moving like smoke, silent and unseen. From her vantage point, she could see the marble lobby stretching beneath her, the glittering fountain, the chandeliers, the clean symmetry of Death's stage. Every instinct screamed at her to wait for backup, but there was none. The police were chasing decoys, and the hotel's private security had been paid to disappear. It was just her, one woman against 5 killers. She crouched above the lobby vent, every muscle coiled. Below, Mason glanced at his watch, 8:27. 2 minutes until Ethan Johnson walked into his grave. Ava whispered her children's names under her breath, Lily, Caleb, and her pulse slowed. The fear turned to focus. The maid was gone. The soldier was awake. Down below, Mason's crew shifted positions, covering every entrance, forming the perfect kill box. They thought they were predators, but they hadn't realized yet. They were the ones being hunted, and in less than 2 minutes, their arrogance would make them prey. The marble floors of the Grand Meridian Hotel gleamed under chandelier light as Ethan Johnson entered the lobby, his reflection shimmering across every polished surface. The billionaire glanced at his phone, expecting a dinner meeting with investors from Singapore. Instead, 5 men were already waiting, not with briefcases, but with death. Hidden above them, crouched in the vent, Ava Brown counted every breath, every movement, every sound. The seconds ticked louder in her ears in gunfire. She could almost feel the pulse of the enemy below. Mason Taylor stood near the main fountain, his posture casual but his weapon ready. His team spread out, invisible to untrained eyes, a perfect kill formation surrounding the man they were about to erase. Ava's mind became a weapon again. She didn't think in words anymore. She thought in geometry, distance, timing. The chandeliers above could blind them if shattered. The marble columns provided cover. The lobby's echo could distort her position if she struck fast enough. She pressed a finger to the vent grate, watching Mason check his watch one final time. 8:29. 60 seconds. She whispered softly, always faithful, touching the coin in her pocket. It had carried her through fire once. It would do so again. Down below, Mason smiled like a man about to close a deal. Positions locked, he murmured into his mic. Remember, clean, quiet, quick. Then the glass doors opened. Ethan Johnson stepped inside. Mason emerged from behind the fountain, his suppressed pistol rising smoothly, voice low and deliberate. Mr. Johnson, we represent certain parties displeased with your upcoming testimony. Ethan froze, eyes narrowing as realization dawned. You really think killing me will stop the truth? Truth is irrelevant, Mason said, smirking. Dead men tell no tales. 5 weapons lifted in unison. The choreography of professional murder. The lobby fell silent. Even the fountain seemed to hold its water still. And then the ceiling moved. A metallic whisper above became a thunderclap as Ava dropped to the vent like a phantom of war. She landed behind Victor, knife flashing once, precise, surgical, final. He collapsed before his body even realized it was dead. Carter spun toward the sound, but Ava was already gone, rolling across the marble, using the fountain's shadow as cover. His gun barked once, the bullet sparking off a crystal column. She closed the distance in a blur, redirecting his arm, slamming an elbow into his throat, then driving him through the glass coffee table. Shards exploded outward like ice in a hurricane. Mason's head snapped around. His perfect plan was shattering before his eyes. What the hell? The words died on his tongue as Hassan charged, knife raised. Ava caught his wrist, pivoted, and used his momentum to slam his skull against the fountain's edge. The sound was wet and final. Blood spilled into the water, turning the perfect symmetry of the lobby into a battlefield. Guests screamed. Phones appeared. Dozens of live streams began filming before anyone understood what was happening. On TikTok, on Instagram, on X, a maid, a cleaning lady, was dismantling an elite kill team with her bare hands. Rodriguez, the knife specialist, drew his pistol and fired wildly. Ava grabbed a heavy brass lamp from the reception desk, its ornate base sparking as it caught the bullet. She swung, the impact crushing his ribs. His gun flew from his hand. She caught it midair and leveled it before he could even fall. The silence that followed felt eternal. 5 men, 90 seconds, all down. Mason Taylor, the unshakable killer, stood frozen in disbelief, gun trembling. "Who the hell are you?" he rasped. Ava stepped closer, eyes calm, breath steady. "Housekeeping." Her words sliced the air cleaner than any blade. The lobby doors burst open as real security rushed in, guns drawn, faces pale. Around them, guests shouted, "She saved him. She saved the billionaire." Cameras flashed. Streams exploded online. The world had just witnessed the impossible. But as Ava stood among the chaos, one thought cut through the noise like a blade through glass. This wasn't over. Because men like Mason didn't die easily. And the people who sent him wouldn't forgive failure. By morning, the woman hailed as a hero would become their next target. Within hours, the world knew her name. Clips flooded every screen. The hotel's chandeliered chaos replayed from 1,000 angles. Maid turns assassin slayer. Headline screamed. Hashtag hotel hero trended across continents. Overnight, Ava Brown became the face of courage and a perfect target for revenge. But not everyone watching wanted to celebrate her. In shadowed rooms half a world away, men in tailored suits and coded chat servers studied the footage frame by frame. Taylor's team failed. One voice said in Russian, "The woman must be eliminated before she talks." Another responded in Mandarin, "Or discredit her, ruin the witness before she's believed." As social media turned her into a symbol, the machine of power turned her into a threat. By dawn, the same algorithms that had made her famous began to poison her image. Anonymous accounts asked, how did Maid fight like a Navy SEAL? Was it staged? Conspiracy posts swarmed. Maybe she wasn't on it. Maybe the billionaire planned it all. In less than 6 hours, Ava's heroism became suspicion. In 12, it became accusation. Mason Taylor's employers had launched an information war, and they were winning. Meanwhile, in her small apartment on the south side of Seattle, Ava sat at her kitchen table surrounded by legal documents and nightmares. Her children, Lily and Caleb, slept fitfully in the next room. Every buzz from her phone brought new messages, some calling her a hero, others demanding her arrest. By mid-morning, cable news panels debated her sanity. Is she a patriot or a ticking time bomb? A commentator sneered. These veterans carried too much trauma. Then came the lawsuit. Mason's surviving team, the same men she neutralized, had hired high-powered attorneys claiming they were peaceful businessmen attacked without cause. Their makeup-covered bruises filled TV screens. Their lies repeated until repetition became truth. Ava's own employer, the Grand Meridian Hotel, suspended her indefinitely. Pending investigation, they said, hiding behind corporate smiles. She lost her paycheck, her health insurance, her future, all while being called dangerous by strangers who knew nothing about her life. Her mother called from Atlanta, voice trembling. "Baby, the church is talking. They say you brought violence into God's house." The shame in her tone cut deeper than any knife. At school, Lily faced whispers, "Your mom's a psycho." Caleb came home crying after older boys pushed him and shouted racial slurs. The world that once applauded now devoured. Meanwhile, Mason Taylor, alive but humiliated, sat under bright studio lights on CNN. Bandaged hand, fake humility, perfect performance. "I hold no hatred for Ms. Brown," he said softly. "She clearly suffers from combat trauma. She needs psychiatric help, not punishment." His expression, calm, compassionate, was pure manipulation. Millions believed him. Evidence vanished. Hotel footage corrupted. Police reports rewritten. Her honorable service record suddenly missing. The story flipped overnight. From protector to predator. Ava watched herself being erased on live TV. Her reflection in the dark screen looked like a ghost. But ghosts can still fight. Deep inside, the soldier stirred again, not to kill this time, but to expose. She knew Mason's type. Arrogant, addicted to control. Sooner or later, he'd overreach. And he did. Mason's greed demanded total victory. He began pushing for federal terrorism charges against her, a move so reckless it triggered the curiosity of someone he hadn't anticipated. Special Agent Sophia White, FBI Counterterrorism Division. Sophia had seen patterns like this before, too clean, too rehearsed. Why did alleged businessmen carry military-grade weapons? Why did their digital records trace back to shell companies flagged by Interpol? Why did all evidence against Ava lead to dead ends? Sophia started digging. Quietly, patiently, and the deeper she went, the uglier it became. 3 weeks later, Mason made his final mistake. Ava's phone rang at 2 a.m. The voice on the line was cold, male, robotic. "We know where your kids go to school," it said. "Smart mothers do what they're told." That call changed everything. By sunrise, Ava had packed her children off to a safe house arranged by an old SEAL contact. Then she waited. She knew Mason would try to corner her. Predators always returned to the scene of their humiliation. So when the invitation came, a Peace meeting at the Grand Meridian. Same fountain, same marble floor. She agreed. This time, she didn't come in uniform. She came dressed in calm resolve and hidden wire. As Mason greeted her with that false civility, she finally understood the truth. He wasn't here to negotiate. He was here to finish. But what Mason didn't know was that he'd already walked into a trap far more intricate than his own, because while he thought he was recording her confession, she was recording his. The Grand Meridian Hotel gleamed like a temple of ghosts, each polished tile reflecting memories of blood and redemption. Ava Brown walked in with measured calm, her simple black dress concealing more than elegance. In her purse rested a recording device, FBI-issued and transmitting live to a surveillance van parked across the street. Mason Taylor was already waiting by the marble fountain, the same spot where she had broken his team and his pride. His reflection rippled on the surface of the water, like a serpent pretending to be still. "Miss Brown," he said, voice smooth as oil. "Thank you for coming. I think we can end this quietly." "Cut the act, Mason," Ava replied, steady but low. "What do you want?" He smiled, that same cold, polished grin that had fooled the world. "Peace. For everyone." He slid a sleek tablet across the table. "You'll find the terms generous. $5 million. Sealed records. New identities for you and your children. A quiet life anywhere you choose. And in exchange," Ava asked, though she already knew, "you admit on camera that you overreacted, that you suffer from PTSD. You apologize for the incident. Then you vanish. No jail time. No more chaos. Everyone wins." Ava stared at him, her jaw set. Everyone but the truth. Mason's chuckle was quiet, venomous. "Truth." He leaned forward, eyes glinting. "Truth is what people believe, Ava. And they believe what I tell them to. You think you're protecting your kids by fighting this? You're destroying them. Your daughter cries at school. Your son wets the bed. They're scared of you." The words landed like bullets. Ava's resolve wavered, pain flickering behind her calm eyes. Mason saw it and pressed harder. "Be a hero, Ava. Heroes know when to surrender for the greater good. Take the deal. Save your children." Or, he turned his tablet to face her. On the screen were surveillance photos. Lily walking to school. Caleb at the playground. Her mother shopping in Atlanta. "These were taken yesterday," he said, voice soft but lethal. "My associates have impressive reach. I don't want anyone hurt." Signed the statement, and everyone lives well. For a moment, silence filled the space between them. The marble, the lights, the fountain, it all blurred around her. Ava's heart pounded, but not from fear. From clarity. "Mason," she said quietly, reaching into her purse. "I have a confession, too." The sound of her voice made him pause. When she pulled out the small recorder, his face went white. "What the hell is that?" he snapped. "Insurance," she replied, her tone sharpened by conviction. "This conversation is being recorded and broadcast live to Special Agent Sophia White and the Joint Terrorism Task Force outside." "You!" Mason lunged forward, but it was too late. Ava's voice stayed calm, unwavering. "You just threatened children. That's federal intimidation, interstate conspiracy, and attempted coercion. Every word you've said is admissible." Mason froze, realizing too late that the hunter had become the prey. Ava rose from her chair, stepping closer, her confidence returning with every heartbeat. "Agent White already ran facial recognition on your team from the hotel footage. They're wanted in 12 countries for assassinations and war crimes. You didn't just fail a hit. You exposed an entire network." Mason's mask cracked. "You don't understand who you're dealing with." "Oh, I do," Ava interrupted. "You're a coward hiding behind power. You see people like me, the invisible ones, as disposable. But the truth is, Mason, we're the ones holding up your world. And now it's collapsing." As if on cue, the lobby doors burst open. FBI agents in tactical gear flooded the marble floor, weapons drawn. "Mason Taylor, you're under arrest of conspiracy to commit murder, terrorism, and obstruction of justice." He turned, but there was nowhere left to run. The same fountain that once mirrored his arrogance now reflected his downfall. Agents swarmed, dragging him to floor as Ava stood over him, not as prey, but as witness. When the handcuff snapped shut, Mason looked up at her with disbelief. "You think this changes anything?" he hissed. "It changes everything," she said softly. As they led him away, cameras outside the hotel exploded in flashes. The story hit the world in minutes. Billionaire's Maid exposes global assassination ring. The invisible woman was invisible no longer. But as the headlines blazed, Ava knew this was only the beginning. The arrests, the trials, the testimonies, they would ignite something bigger. Because this time, the truth didn't just survive. It had witnesses. Millions of them. And in the war between power and the invisible had just struck back. The world erupted overnight. Helicopters circled the Grand Meridian Hotel, their searchlights slicing across the Seattle skyline as news vans crowded the entrance. By morning, Mason Taylor's arrest had become an international headline. Assassin kingpin captured in Hotel Sting. Inside a federal holding cell, Mason sat chained to the floor, his arrogance finally stripped away. Cameras caught flashes of him being escorted in cuffs, his once-tailored suit replaced with an orange jumpsuit. Every network played the footage on loop. For Ava Brown, it wasn't victory. It was vindication. Her phone rang nonstop. Reporters wanted interviews. Talk shows wanted exclusives. Publishers wanted book deals. But she said nothing. Not yet. She wasn't chasing fame. She was reclaiming truth. Special Agent Sophia White briefed her in a quiet office lined with case files. "You didn't just expose a hit squad," she said. "You uncovered a global assassination network." Mason's team worked under contracts tied to oil companies, defense firms, corrupt governments, billions in blood money. Ava leaned back in her chair, absorbing it all. And all because he couldn't imagine a maid could fight back. Sophia smiled faintly. Underestimating you was his first mistake. Thinking you wouldn't record him was his last. The FBI's sweep spread across 12 countries in 24 hours. Raids in London, Dubai, and Prague dismantled safe houses and captured 47 operatives. The once untouchable elite of Mason's empire now faced federal charges and international indictments. But even as the headlines shifted toward celebration, Ava's focus remained closer to home. She wanted her life back, her children's peace, her mother's pride, her name clear beyond a hashtag. The first day of Mason's trial, she walked into court not as a defendant, but as the star witness. The same marble calm she had held under gunfire carried her to the stand. Rows of journalists filled the gallery, pens scratching as she spoke. "I was doing my job," she said simply. "They saw me as invisible. That was their mistake." The prosecutor projected Mason's recorded threats on the screen, his voice slithering through the courtroom. "Truth is what people believe, and they believe what I tell them." Gasps rippled through the crowd. For the first time, the world heard his contempt, not just for Ava, but for humanity itself. Mason's lawyers tried to dismantle her credibility, waving their hands, claiming she was delusional. But every document, every digital trace, every FBI report turned their arguments to dust. The jury took only 37 minutes. Guilty on all counts. Mason Taylor, the man who thought power could buy silence, would spend the rest of his life in a federal supermax prison. No parole, no appeal, no empire left control. When the verdict was read, he looked across the courtroom at Ava. For a heartbeat, the predator and the protector locked eyes. His expression was disbelief, the kind that comes when a man realizes the invisible had always been stronger. The next morning, Ethan Johnson held a press conference. "The woman who saved my life taught me something," he said. "Heroes don't always wear uniforms. Sometimes they wear aprons and name tags." Then came the announcement that changed everything. The Invisible Heroes Foundation, a $100 million initiative to protect service workers who risk their lives to expose corruption. Ava was named its director of security. In her new office, overlooking the same skyline where it all began, she hung her children's drawings beside her sealed commendations. One showed her wearing a cape, mopping the floor with the words "My Mom, the Hero" written in crooked crayon letters. But peace didn't mean forgetting. 1 year later, she requested a final visit to Mason Taylor in prison. He sat behind reinforced glass. Older now, eyes dull. "Come to gloat?" he sneered. "No," Ava replied. "To remind you." She leaned forward. "You asked me what I was. I'm a mother who protects her kids, a soldier who kept her oath, a worker who refused to stay small." He said nothing. There was nothing left to say. As she stood to leave, she paused. "By the way," she added with a faint smile, "your old hotel suite? It's the staff break room now. Feels right, doesn't it?" Her heels echoed down the corridor, each step a punctuation mark on a story Mason had once thought he controlled. But this story belonged to her now. 1 year later. Sunlight streamed to the glass atrium of the Grand Meridian Hotel, glinting off polished marble where it all began. Ava Brown walked to the lobby not as a maid, but as a director of security, her badge gleaming, her presence commanding quiet respect. Guests and staff greeted her by name. The invisible woman had become impossible to ignore. Everywhere she looked, she saw a change. Housekeepers with better pay, guards with panic buttons, staff with a voice that mattered. What had started with blood and courage had become a movement. The Invisible Heroes Foundation was thriving. What began as one woman's act of defiance had grown into a global network defending those who worked in silence: janitors, drivers, cooks, cleaners, guards, the people who kept civilization running. Every month, new stories surfaced. A night watchman exposing corporate fraud in Tokyo, a hotel maid in Dubai rescuing traffic workers, a cafeteria chef in Brazil testifying against embezzlement. Ava's courage had lit the fuse. Her daughter, Lily, stood proudly in her Navy Academy uniform, giving her graduation speech before hundreds. "My mother taught me that being unseen isn't weakness, it's reconnaissance. Real power is knowing when to stand up and fight." In the audience, Ava wiped the tears she hadn't expected to shed. Her son, Caleb, now 15, had grown into a quiet protector himself. Captain of his school's wrestling team, mentoring kids who'd been bullied like he once was. When people called him the hero's son, he always corrected them. "No, she's the one who taught me what strength really means." Back in Washington, Ava testified before Congress. Cameras flashed as she stood behind the podium and told the truth, not as a victim, but as a voice for millions. Her words reshaped national policy. The Williams Worker Protection Act passed with overwhelming support, guaranteeing whistleblower rights, panic button laws, and corporate accountability for service staff worldwide. For the first time in history, the Invisible had legal armor. Documentaries chronicled her journey. Books like Invisible No More and The Hotel Warrior topped bestseller lists. Universities studied her case as a model of courage under oppression. Reaction videos, commentary, and speeches spread her message across social media. Courage has no uniform. But amid all the noise, Ava kept her humility. She still started each morning with coffee and a quiet moment by the window, watching the sunrise over Seattle. When people called her an icon, she'd smile faintly and say, "I'm just someone who refused to look away." Even Ethan Johnson, the man whose life she'd saved, often visited her office. He never called her employee again. He called her partner. Together, they built a company culture where security meant more than metal detectors. It meant dignity. The press still asked her the same question in every interview. "Do you forgive Mason Taylor?" Her answer never changed. "Forgiveness isn't for him," she'd say softly. "It's for everyone who ever felt invisible, so they know they can rise without hate." Mason, now buried deep inside a supermax prison, spent his days in solitude. The same silence he once weaponized. His empire, his money, his power, gone. The man who tried to destroy her became a forgotten cautionary tale, whispered in courtrooms and classrooms alike. And Ava? She became something greater than any label. Soldier, mother, worker, leader. At night, she often returned to the same fountain where it had all begun, the one that had once run red, now refitted as a memorial. At its base read a simple inscription, "For those who protect the world quietly." She placed her challenge coin there one evening and whispered, "For every invisible soul still fighting." The reflection in the water showed not the maid who once scrubbed floors, but the warrior who had reshaped justice itself. The camera pulled back, the hotel glowing like a cathedral of light against the night skyline, her silhouette standing at its heart. Her voice, steady and reflective, closed the story. Dignity isn't given, it's claimed. The world sees the powerful because they shine bright, but real power is often hidden in the shadows, keeping everything standing. She smiled faintly. And the next time you see someone cleaning a floor, guarding a door, or serving your meal, remember, you might be looking at a hero. Drop a comment below and let us know where you're watching from. If you enjoyed today's story, smash that like button, subscribe, and ring the notification bell, so you never miss another pulse-pounding cinematic tale from Black Rise. Here's a quick question for you. If you were in Ava's shoes, would you risk everything to tell the truth, or walk away to protect your peace? Sometimes, the hardest battles are the ones fought in silence, because even the invisible deserve to be seen.